I'm coming to you from my brand new bedroom studio that I've put together the last couple weeks. This is sort of a in-between studio while I build a even bigger one in my garage. But for the next maybe year or so, this is where I'll be shooting my videos, and I wanted to give you a tour and show you around the new place. I recently got married and I moved out to West Virginia. That's right, I am a mountain man now. This beard is no longer for show, it's for business. I grew up and lived my whole life in Maryland, outside of Washington, D.C., and it's a little bit of a change coming out here to West Virginia, but so far I'm really enjoying it. Obviously, West Virginia is very different from the D.C. metro area, geographically, economically, demographically, culturally, in just about every way. It's a pretty big shift. While it's much smaller out here, I don't find it too lonely or isolating. Huntington, West Virginia is the second most populous city in the state with a population of 45,000. The Washington, D.C. metro area has a population of just shy of 6.5 million. So quite a large shift there, and also quite a large economic difference. Probably the most important thing about where you live is who you live with. And I gotta say, the people out here in West Virginia have been really nice. I almost always have a little conversation with any cashier, whether it's a grocery store or even a gas station attendant. It's just kind of commonplace. Everyone is friendly and everyone talks to each other, which is not really the case around DC for the most part. Everyone out here has been super friendly, and it's just such a nice change of pace from living in a big city. And that's probably the nicest part of it so far, as well as the prices at restaurants and places in general are just a little bit less than around DC, and that's definitely appreciated too. Enough about me, let's take a look at the studio here. And this bedroom is one of the larger bedrooms in my house here, but it is a little bit smaller than my last studio, not by a ton, but it is definitely a little more compact. However, I've still been able to fit pretty much the same amount of gear. I don't have my big speaker cabs up here. They're in the garage, but I don't really need them for recording most of the time. And if I want to bring up one of my little combo amps or something, I have plenty of room for that. I wasn't sure if I was going to have room to set up my electronic drums, but it turns out I did have plenty of room. And so I have them set up next to my computer, same as they were in my last studio. That way I can easily record and play at the same time, and I don't have to be running back and forth between the computer and the drum kit. That's pretty important for me as a one-man operation. The setup of my electronic drums is the same as it was in my last studio. I have my homemade converted snare kick drum. I have my Franken kit, which was a Roland TD1K with an extra mesh snare, an extra cymbal, and it is all powered by the eDrum in 8, which is a USB-only interface. That's a great little interface if you're doing stuff direct to the PC. It doesn't have any sounds on it, but it does a great job interfacing between the drum kit and drum software on my computer. I've got my 2 guitar racks up here with pretty much all my instruments, and now is as good of a time as ever to give you a little tour of my guitar collection for those who haven't seen it all. I don't know if I've ever really talked about all of them in a video, but I'll give you a quick overview here. I've got my Schecter Omen 8 Extreme, which I did a whole video on. That is a multi-scale 8-string guitar. I've got my Schecter Omen 7 Extreme, which is much older, 2007. It's a 7-string, not multi-scale, and I did refinish the body on this. I sanded it down to a matte finish. It was a gloss black before, so it's had a little customization done, but it's all the same stock hardware. I have my 80s Westbury guitar. This is a cool made in Japan SG sort of style guitar. It's got some DiMarzio pickups in it, and I usually use it for E standard or E flat kind of standard tunings. I have my Telecaster, which is currently in some sort of weird kind of Nashville up an octave tuning, but also some kind of alternate tuning. I haven't exactly found a practical use for this. I have my Jackson JS32 Randy Rhoads V. That also has a video on it. It's modern Rhoads V. It's in D standard. It's all stock hardware right now. Over in my bass collection, I have my Squier Baritone Jazzmaster. It's down an octave from a standard guitar, but I keep it anywhere from D to D sharp to E standard. I have my made in Germany Warwick Corvette Standard. That is my main live bass with my band, which is no longer really playing because they're back in DC. So unfortunately, we're broken up. We just haven't really made an official announcement. That was my main live bass with my band Myopic. So that's been on some albums and the occasional video here and there. We played in drop C, so that's what it's tuned to. It's a 5-string and it's tuned up. The low string is C, so it's actually got like an extra high string, but it's also in drop C, so it's a little lower than your standard 4-string. I've got my Ibanez 5-string, which has shown up the most in my YouTube videos. That is usually just in E standard with a low A. My 7-string is in drop A, so this is also in drop A most of the time, though sometimes I will take it down to D standard or whatever I need in that range. This Fender Made in Mexico P bass, this was given to me by a friend. It was his brother's bass before his passing. It's a nice P bass, Mexican Fender, quite a nice playing instrument. I just have it in standard tuning. And then I have my Warwick rock bass. This is a cheaper imported bass. This is a fretless 4-string for all my fretless needs. I've also sanded this down to a matte finish, which I think looks really slick on this instrument. So I have 2 guitar racks on opposite walls where I had space for them. I have my 2 keyboards on stands here. I have my Korg D1, which is my full 88-key hammer action for when I want to do piano-focused stuff. And then I have my Arturia Keylab 61 Mark II for all my synth needs. It's got a really nice synth action, as well as a nice pitch wheel and a lot of different controls, drum pads, really nice keyboard as well. So these are keyboards that I'm quite happy with. They kind of cover all my bases. I do everything direct to the PC, so all the instruments are software. Neither of them, really have a whole lot in terms of built-in sounds, but that's not what I'm using them for. These are studio instruments. I also have my retro games collection on this wall, all modded consoles. So they have quite large libraries, and I have an original Xbox, my Nintendo 64 that my dad got me when I was a very wee lad, probably in 1996 or 97. I've got the soft modded Wii with GameCube library as well, and then a Sega Dreamcast that can play stuff off a flash card. Very cool, very based and elite gamer stuff here. Just want to have a nice offline collection of retro games for all my retro gaming needs and for my future children's benefit. Not only old stuff on original hardware, but also offline games. And I don't want my kids growing up playing Roblox. I want them playing Ocarina of Time and, Smash Bros., maybe even some Halo when they're older. My PC setup is pretty much the same. For years, I've had one of my keyboards on my desk, which is nice when I'm recording piano, but I don't really record key stuff every day. And when I was moving and didn't have the keyboard set up yet, I just thought it was really nice to have the extra desk space, which I haven't had in so long. It's a little bit cramped with a keyboard on my desk. So I decided, why not just put them on their stand, since I have a 2-keyboard stand anyways, and free up the extra desk space for mouse and keyboard action, as well as, decorating other things on my desk. Hopefully it doesn't become a big pile of stuff. That is what I try to avoid. My monitoring setup is the same with the Kali Audio IN8 V2s, and I also have a variety of headphones to check things out on as well. I did do the SonarWorks room treatment and calibration here, and I can show you in this graph the difference between my old room and this room. It's not as significant as I might have thought. It's not that different, though it definitely is different enough. And it's nice to have something like SonarWorks to calibrate the room and my speakers. In terms of acoustics in here, I have covered all the walls in moving blankets, and there were 2 windows in here. I put a piece of Homosote up against the windows as a little solid barrier, and then several layers of moving blankets around the windows because I'm right by a busy road, and there's quite a lot of fast-moving traffic outside, a lot of road noise. So keeping the car sounds out of my microphone is a big challenge in this room. And I've put a lot of layers, I think about 4 layers of moving blankets, as well as the piece of Homosote, 1/2-inch Homosote in the windows. It's still not perfect, but it's good enough that you probably, hopefully, won't notice a lot of road sounds, car sounds in my microphone. But if you do hear them, well, that's why. I'm I'm on a highway. I also have a lot of acoustic foam from my old studio. The moving blankets didn't cover the whole wall, and so it looks nice to just go along with the black theme. It helped fill out the space. Does it do that much for the acoustics? I don't know. It certainly doesn't hurt. It's pretty dry and dead in here, and aside from the road noise, which is still a bit of an issue sometimes, did a good job in terms of what I need basically for voiceover to keep this room from being too echoey. It certainly sounds way drier in here than any other room in the house, and as soon as I step outside the studio, I notice how echoey everything else is. In terms of lighting, I did things a little bit differently this time. I've got my same key light, which is an Amaran 60D. I have a secondary fill light in the corner, which is just a little RGB LED in a softbox set to 5600. In these stands behind me, I have a couple of just regular bulbs. These are 100-watt equivalent LEDs in daylight white, and then I found blue and orange colored lights. They're just one color each. They were like $5 at Lowe's, so those are in there. And then I have some more of the RGB colored ones behind me. Those are just not as bright, I found, and so they didn't really do much of an effect on the wall. And so I decided to get these fixed color ones, which are much brighter and don't have to worry about Wi-Fi and internet settings like the multicolored ones do. So I have some of those leftover RGB bulbs hanging in this hanging fixture, this rope light thing I got. And there's also a cool Edison style bulb. They're really quite expensive to get more of those, so I like them, but they are a little bit pricey. That is my current lighting setup. It's not perfect, but I think it looks pretty cool. I'm happy enough with it for now. I am going to build out a bigger, more permanent studio at some point, during the next year or so. I'm going to be working on it. My plan is to convert my garage, which is a concrete floor and cinder block walls, into a even better, more acoustically treated space. So I want to frame out everything with 2x4s and mineral wool insulation, and then put up cloth walls. There's a number of other guys on YouTube who've done similar builds in their houses with the cloth over mineral wool type construction. Basically, your whole wall then, your whole room is like a giant acoustic sound panel. If you buy acoustic panels online, they're expensive, and that's pretty much what they are. A wooden frame with mineral wool and cloth over it. For a lot of new construction, that's what your walls are. They just have drywall on top. And if you don't put on the drywall and you put on cloth instead, you have a giant, nicely treated acoustical room. The few challenges are going to be the big garage door, which I'm going to leave in place, but then build a wall behind, as well as a couple of windows, which, again, we have all this road noise from the garage door and the windows, so those are going to have to be really sealed off, and I'm going to do a better job than I have here with a more permanent solution. In addition to that, I'll probably do another layer of drywall on the ceiling with acoustic decouplers, little rubber pieces in between the layers of drywall, so that any footsteps from upstairs, where I am now, will not be translated downstairs so much into my new studio. So that's going to be a much bigger room. It's going to be more than twice the size of this current room, and so I'm going to have a lot of extra space, and I'll have some extra things set up there, probably a dedicated table for doing like product review type overhead shots. I want to have a dedicated electronics soldering repair station, which I don't have in here. I have a couple of big, cool CRTs that are going to be added to the retro game collection. Those are really heavy, and they'll need a big, nice table to go on, along with my more modern flat panel. So there's a few other things that room will have that this space doesn't. But other than that, I've got the main things that I use, which are my guitars, my drums, my keyboards, and microphones. So this space, despite being small, has pretty much everything I need packed into it and is fully functional. The only issue in here right now is that my HVAC system isn't that great, and so this room is quite hot, and I don't have a fan running while I'm recording for the microphone, and so I'm a little bit warm, moist, you might even say. But it's okay. I don't have any sweat beating up yet, just a little bit of humidity in this room. So other than that, this room is great, and I'm happy to work here until my future studio is built. So you'll be seeing me in this space from now on in all my other videos that you will watch, that you will also like, that you will also subscribe to Nick Leonard for. Like and subscribe.